Hi guys, it's Howard again. Today we're having a look at a camera I had never seen until about 12 months ago. I was watching an American who lives in Japan reviewing cameras, and a 1957 Olympus 35S was his choice for the day. I didn't even know this camera existed. I mean, I'm old, I've been around, I've pretty much seen it all, and I've been to heaps of camera fairs, but I'd never seen one of these. He made it sound pretty good, so I purchased one from a Japanese online store. I should have looked more closely at the pictures, because when it arrived I was very disappointed with it cosmetically. It had quite a bit of corrosion build-up and a small hole in the body. It did, however, work perfectly in every respect, so my mood improved a little. I hit the body with some metal polish, patched the hole, and ended up with a pretty good camera. There are actually two Model S cameras, an earlier one and this subsequent model. Mine obviously is the later one, which was known sort of colloquially as the S Roman numerals 2, but there is no mention of this on the camera itself. They are both simply called an S. The reason I call it the SP's grandfather is that it appears to be the first camera to sport the famous G-Zuiko 42mm 7-element lens. The previous model to this, the other S, had the 1.9 version. Mine's got the f1.8 version, and of course the SP and the SPNs had the famous 1.7 version. Okay, let's have a look at it. I'll just remove the lens cap. All right, I think I'd have to agree it's a pretty handsome looking camera. It's nicely rounded, it's not too boxy, it's got a real quality feel to it, and it's a good looking camera. Over on the left we've got the self timer. Pull it down through 90 degrees, it gives you about 10 seconds, feels very strong and robust, so this is one I would use. We've got the rangefinder tab, the focusing tab on the right hand side here. Very smooth, relatively short action, works very nicely. We've got the rangefinder window, viewfinder window, and the illumination window. Now surprisingly, this viewfinder is one up on the SP and SPN. This has an automatically correcting parallax bright line viewfinder. For 1957, I mean, that's pretty impressive. And of course the SPN later on had a fixed bright line viewfinder with just a little adjustment corner up in the left-hand corner. Anyhow, this viewfinder is actually better than the SPN viewfinder, and even with wearing glasses, it still works very well. All right, let's have a look at the top. Now, I could be wrong, but I've been led to believe that this was one of the first cameras, certainly one of the first Olympus, to actually have a lever on the rewind, as opposed to just simply rewinding a knob. You'll see these little serrations. Put your fingernail, pull it back, and the little lever pops out. It's got a nice separate little ferrule and a nice little arrow to show the direction to rewind. So that's on a spring and it just clicks back into place. Very high quality touch. Olympus 35S. A shutter release takes a standard cable release. We've got a what's referred to as a cold accessory shoe, and the film plane. That's the level that the film is on within the camera. Over here we've got a very nice, hang on, it's cocked. Very nice wind on. I don't think you can hear it, but it's got a lovely ratcheted, very fine ratcheted feel all the way around. It feels really good. The frame counter automatically resets to S when you open the back, and all in all, everything works very well. There's a rangefinder, well, the viewfinder window, but while I'm talking about that, the rangefinder and everything works superbly. And this rangefinder is really clear and sharp, lines up perfectly. The viewfinder is clear. It's an excellent viewfinder. Now on the back here is part of the magic of this camera. It's got a exposure, quite a sophisticated exposure calculator. Now if you look around the rim here, we've got from 10 ASA around to 800. We alter that with this little tab here so we can set it anywhere on that scale. You'll see there's a little arrow point I've got there which is pointing to 100 ASA. That all turns. Up around here we've got a whole host of scenes from open beach, open mountains through to shade and window scenes and things, and everything in between, pretty much everything in between. Around here we've got the 4 weather conditions. So we've got bright sun, light cloudy sun, heavier cloud and overcast. So depending on what we want to, where we say we go to the beach and it's light cloudy, we put the light cloudy on this segment here. It's set on the 100 ASA and the little arrow points to 15. So we know the exposure value, the light value is 15. As you can see, it can handle theoretically from 6 through to 18. Now I think this is set up for America because over here we've got, it says May to August, you add 1. So that's the American summer. And then we've got November to February, we take 1 off, the American winter. So you take your reading, and then if it's the middle of summer, you add 1. And if it's a winter, you take 1 off the reading you get. So it's quite sophisticated. It's trying to adjust for a host of things. On the other side, it sort of it mentions other months. What have we got? We've got March, April, September, October. No adjustment, but it only applies from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So it works quite well. It's quite sophisticated. I used it the day I put a film through this just out of curiosity, and it worked, exposed very well. I can't complain at all. So anyhow, we came up with the 15 is what we're looking at here. So we bring it around the front. We've got the aperture ring, which goes from 1.8 through to 16, and we've got the shutter speed ring, which goes from a 500th around to B in 1 second and everything. And in between those 2 rings, there's a little window. So say we want to use, a 100th of a second. So we put that on the line, and then it's simply a matter of going around looking for 15 in the window, and it's 16. So it sort of ties in pretty well with the sunny 16 rule for 100 ASA. If you really want to use f8, you can just go up to a 500th at f8 and you've got your 15 again. So you're not locked into one or the other. Within certain parameters, you can use it as an aperture priority exposure system. Behind the shutter speed ring, we've got a depth of field scale and a nice little focusing scale in feet around there. Okay. All right, now you'll notice down here there's quite a bit of brassing. It's where I cleaned all the corrosion off it, and you see the hole was just in here, so I've glued on a thin piece of stiff black cardboard, so I glued that on there. There's other bits of brassing around in other areas, but it's cleaned up pretty well overall. Can't complain too much. All right, now to open this camera, it opens at the other end. So you pull up the tab, which releases the back opens, and in here everything's pretty standard. So to load your film, push it up, drop the cassette in, pull it across, put the tongue in the slot, wind it on. Before you shut the back, make sure the teeth locating in the sprocket holes of the film. Shut the back. Now to shut it, you've got to hold it shut and pull that down. Okay. Take a couple of shots and you're ready to go. On the bottom we've got, unfortunately, the tripod mount, which would be lovely if it was in the middle, is right on one end, but not sure why they did that. I'm sure there was a reason. And the release for the drive mechanism, so you hold that in when you rewind it. Got a couple of strap lugs, and that's about it. Now, as I say, I put a film through this. They turned out really nicely. I mean, this lens may be older than the one in the SP and the SPN, but it's every bit as good, and it takes superb photos. The lovely and sharp and really nicely rendered, lovely contrast, not too much, just the right amount of contrast. It's a very nice camera, beautifully built. If you could find a nice one of these for a reasonable price, I would recommend it. It's also got down here, which I missed mentioning, X, F, and M, and the three different for X electronic flash, F and M for different speed bulbs, and it's a Secosia MLX shutter. So that's about it. Lovely camera. I can recommend it highly. It's a really interesting camera too, with its few little quirks and things, and capable of excellent photos. So look, that's about all I can say about it. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, please like and subscribe and click on the little bell to get notifications of any further reviews that I do. And so anyhow, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.